Hello everybody, it's 25th of October 2023. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in Minsk. I got off at the metro stop Komenogorka. So, of course there's a big shopping mall here. I actually came here to look at something, and there's a building center across the street here. Materik. And I came to look at something there. I also want to get something in this mall, some little things, probably less than 1 ruble. But I'll talk about some news. Well, first, show you off here the towers in the distance. I guess looks like 2 towers. I've been here in this place before. I did a video. That's where Prigozhin stayed when he visited Minsk. It's a green, I think it's called the Green Hotel. Oh, the wind is blowing my backpack off again. It's one of those days. But yeah, that's where he stayed before he met his demise. It's not even sure how and who. I don't know. I haven't heard that much from the investigation. I think they came up with some sort of a deal that, I don't know, what was it, a bomb or something? And anyway, it was not very informative, whatever they said. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on today, or at least the last days here, with all this excitement going on in Israel and Gaza, as well as usual stuff in Ukraine. I'll start off with Ukraine a little bit. I'm going to go bouncing around back and forth, my usual style. I just like write down notes as they come along. I started writing these things yesterday. Some things have changed that you'll find out. Okay, Zelensky, I think Alex Christoforou already said this one. It came out yesterday. He said that the military has to advance 500 meters a day. Makes you wonder what he's going to do. Is he going to shoot them? He's going to shoot them if they don't get 500 meters every day. And then they're losing Avdiivka. So wonder how that's going to work out. How does that work? You lose the place. Maybe they turned around and they advanced in the opposite direction. So yeah. But they're not only fighting Russia right now, they're fighting the mud. I don't know what Alex Christoforou said. I just saw the headlines on his. It said something. I haven't really been watching a lot of videos lately. I'm really too busy. It takes too much time, unfortunately. Watched a few things here and there. I watched something with, I think a little bit about George Galloway. And I watched something with Piers Morgan talking to some YouTube vlogger. I don't know if I wrote notes on that or not. I think it's Mohammed, whatever. He's got like over 1 million followers, but he just ripped Piers Morgan to shreds. Maybe I wrote that. I don't know. We'll find out. So now, just children alone dying in Gaza. I guess the number is right below 2,400, and that doesn't include so many things. And I have more about that later, but I was writing the notes yesterday, and then of course some new numbers came in. I guess at that time it was only 2,000, but I wrote down that it's nearly 2,400 now, so when I get to that. And that's been in, well, that was 2 weeks. Now it's a little over 2 weeks. And videos are just horrifying. I don't know if any of you have been watching and seeing some of these little videos, little short things that are just 10 seconds long or whatever, and photographs. It is just terrible. It is just horrific. Some of the worst things you've ever seen. I won't even go into any detail when you consider that, these poor children, what's happening to them, how they're meeting their demise, and the mutilated bodies and all this terrible stuff. But yet we're supposed to feel sorry for only Israel and not for the Palestinians. And we're supposed to go along with wiping them off the face of the earth. Yeah. Well, anyway, good news is that Belarus is the 3rd least expensive country in Europe for electricity. I guess that's good news for me, and maybe not for you. And the GDP is very good here, I guess. And what was it? The growth is 3.5%, which is actually quite good. I think that's actually more than Russia, which is shocking, actually, with all the growth going on in Russia and the their natural resources. Belarus doesn't have virtually any, so that is just some news that it's actually going pretty good here in Belarus. A lot of pay is going to be going up, paying a lot of people more as time is going to go by. I heard the new figures for 2024. Their expenditure on education will rise by 13.8% in 2024. Healthcare will go up by 11.6%, and the wage fund will go by 12.4%. And support for exporters, that means if you produce goods and you export them, they're going to get some sort of either, I don't know, it's a 20% rise. That means maybe a discount. I don't know. It's a strongly socialist economy. We have socialism and capitalism, kind of a mix. It's a little bit similar in that way, like to Germany, but Germany has everybody has something different. Like I keep telling everybody when I make these videos that there is no such thing as a purely capitalist society. There's no such thing as a purely socialist, and there's no purely such a thing as a communist. So are you going to tell me that the Chinese are communists when they're actually far better capitalists than the Americans? I don't think so. The UN Secretary General, I have actually some more notes about that a little later on here too, but he made the mistake of saying that Hamas attack did not happen in a vacuum. Oh gosh, isn't that a terrible thing to say? Well, what he said later, right after that, he said the Palestinians have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation, which is absolutely true. And if you heard, there was a video, I saw part of it. Like I said, I'm not really watching all these videos, but I did see part of it. It's actually worth probably watching the whole thing. But I watched what was listed on the internet, at least a section of it. It was Joe Rogan interviewing Abby Martin, who used to be on RT, the beautiful Abby Martin. And she was there I don't think she did not get to go to Gaza, but the West Bank, I believe it's supposed to be to a large extent actually better. And she was talking about the horrors of how they live in the West Bank, and women, being shot in the vagina, men being shot in the, she said dick. So I guess I can say dick too. Anyway, Israel, they demanded the Secretary General Guterres resign because he's not heavily biased for Israel, in other words. But he said a lot of negative things about Hamas too. And he said probably some decent things about Israel. I don't know if there is anything decent to say in that context, what he was talking. I don't know if there is. He's based from Spain, and I don't know what Spain thinks of Israel. But how people in the world now are responding to Israel. Israel says he is expressing an understanding for terrorism and murder. No, he's not. He didn't condone all that stuff that Israel does. So are you telling me, I don't know, it's not that difficult. If I wanted to make a video telling you about the difference between Hamas and Israel, there isn't really that much of a difference, to be honest with you. So you start to ask, like, well, who's killed more people? Who's killed more innocent people? Is it Israel or is it Hamas? And then you hear about these hostages now leaving the control of Hamas, and how they all say how well they were treated. They were given preferential treatment. And you also hear that the numbers that Israel first put out of how many Hamas had supposedly killed in this attack, I guess they're greatly inflated. And there's a difference between how most of these types of Muslims operate and how Israel and the United States and maybe Great Britain and a lot of these countries operate, that when they want to get, like, say, for example, what Israel did once. I remember there was a spiritual leader of Hamas. He was just a spiritual leader, and he had nothing to do with anything military, but they assassinated him when he was leaving a mosque, and they killed everybody around him as well. That's just the collateral damage. But there's a big difference that Most of these Muslims don't do that. When Iran captured Rigi, who was responsible for terrorist bombings in Iran for the Iranian Guard, and they downed the plane, but they made it land. They didn't shoot it down like the United States does. The United States shoots planes down. Israel shoots them down, you know. Sometimes they don't. They shoot them down when there's not even any terrorists on board. They just shoot it down to make it look like somebody else did. I think people that lived in Libya during a certain time can tell you about that one. And how many other people? What about Operation Northwoods? You ever heard about Operation Northwoods? What the U.S. was planning on shooting down a U.S. passenger plane to make it look like Cuba did it. They were going to paint U.S. fighter jets like they were from Cuba and then shoot down an American passenger plane, kill everybody, just so that they could make it look like Cuba did it. People just fascinated, just staring at me. I was told not to stare when I was a kid. I guess in some cultures maybe they don't do that. Let's see if he's still looking over here. Oh no, he turned around. He's walking the other way. Okay. Yes. Someone in their BMW very much in a hurry there. So I don't know about these murders of supposedly what the ones that actually did get killed, probably by Hamas, and I'm not doubting that there wasn't. You know, but I tell you what, in truth, it should be investigated what Hamas is all about. You know, Israel founded Hamas, as I said in one video. They're the ones that created it, and the United States. And that was supposed to be a counterbalance to the Fatah party, I guess, from Yasser Arafat. And yeah, they were mostly for promotion of education, things like that, and doing humanitarian things. And I guess they didn't like seeing what was happening to their own people, so they sort of adapted a little bit. Maybe that's what the investigation will show. So you look at how the Israelis treat the POWs, prisoners of war. You look at how the Ukrainians treat prisoners of war. The Americans, remember Abu Ghraib and what's that one down there in Cuba? Guantanamo Bay. You hear about how they're treated. And then you look at how Hamas treats their prisoners with respect and dignity. They give them food, everything they want. And how Russia does. There's never any complaints. So it's like I'm saying, you know. And a lot of these, for example, Israel, as well as Ukraine, a lot of these prisoners are put to death. A lot of them, their organs are taken from them and put to death at the same time. So this Orwellian world, I guess, you know, the guys that do the killing and all that, I guess now are supposed to be the good guys, and the ones that respect other people, I guess that's bad, you know, war is peace and all that sort of thing. The old great Orwellian world, it's getting more Orwellian by the day. Yeah, so if you have a non-bias, maybe like a lot of people, then I guess you're considered a warmonger. So you have to be in charge. You have to be in favor of genocide, cold-blooded murders, genocides, things like that. Killing means you support peace. So wipe them out. And then that means you're supporting peace. Oh, that makes sense, does it? And Israel now says they're going to assess their relationship with the United Nations. Isn't that something, you know? It's like, who is in more violations of UN directives than any other country on earth? Well, that's Israel. I guess the United States probably takes a second place, but yet who controls the United Nations? And who controls it by proxy? You could just say that. Or who controls what's going on in the Middle East by proxy? Israel does as they please, and they're protected by the US. They do that to a large extent with Great Britain, as you all know too. Anybody who's their buddies. So part of the masters of the universe. You know, the masters of the universe, there's quite a few of them, you know. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that, I hope. I didn't write it down in my notes, but I'll hope I get to that. There's a lot of people. What's this? It must be the smoking area? What am I'm going to all these smoking areas, I guess. So, I don't know. I like the cigarette smoke. So, like I was saying, as of the last count, there's like 2,387 children that have been killed in Gaza. And that's in the past 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks. Doesn't count all those that are still buried in the rubble. I think they said there's 1,500 people in the rubble, and a lot of them are going to be children. Most of them probably are. So, and like I said, these are numbers from yesterday, not yet from today, and there was some bombings last night, as usual. And it doesn't even count the children killed in the West Bank. As you know, they're rebelling somewhat in the West Bank as well, and it doesn't mean that no children is. I mean, you know, Israel really doesn't care if they kill children. As a matter of fact, a lot of time they do that on purpose. You've seen those shirts that they wear, T-shirts. It says 1 shot, 2 kills, and they have a. I think Abby Martin was even talking about that. They have a woman depicted on the front, pregnant woman, and then they have a target aimed right at the baby's, the womb. So 2 kills, 1 shot. And it also does not even reflect all the children that are severely wounded, that they're not going to make it. There's a lot of those too. Like I said, these videos and things, they're horrific. Horrific. I don't even want to talk about them, like I say. And with all those people mobilized in in Israel, it's much like the Ukrainians. It's strange that the elites, their kids don't ever get mobilized. Isn't that something? Whether it be Rezhnikov or Netanyahu. Netanyahu's boy is in Miami right now. And he said he's a keyboard warrior. I'll get into that one too. Keyboard warrior. Think about that. I guess that's the word they maybe use for that. So something that nobody really talks about. And I've known this for a long time. I'll get to that too. Like I said, the elites kids, they're never at risk anyway. And that's the same in the United States. Anywhere, if you're an elite family, if you end up getting killed in some kind of a combat situation or whatever, it's very rare because somehow it's a fluke. You know, maybe it would be like a terrorist thing or something. And of course, there's been like these probably homemade missile attacks on the U.S. bases, maybe a base, I don't know. In Syria, 24 U.S. service members, I believe they're service members, I don't know if they're civilians working for the military. 24 were injured and 1 died, but 1 died not from any kind of injuries from any rocket attacks, died from a heart attack. I guess it got too exciting there. And I guess the one main reason why Gaza, or why Israel has not invaded Gaza, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they're waiting to try to get more what do you call that, hostages out. But that might be one little reason, but there's a lot of other reasons too. And apparently the main reason is because they fear booby traps. And it's known that there's huge, intricate labyrinths of tunnels underneath Gaza City. And there's ways that they can get militants from one place to the other without even having to go through all the rubble and the beat up streets and all that. Of course, all that rubble, that gives them opportunities to booby trap more areas as well. I guess it makes it a lot easier. And a lot of these tunnels go deep underground. And what they're considering doing, I guess there was one Palestinian trader, and he was suggesting that they use poisonous gas to gas them out. And I guess the latest now, what they're talking about flooding the tunnels. That's going to take a lot of water. They're probably going to turn the tunnels into, or use the seawater, salt water, poisonous gas, seawater, who knows. And they're sending notices out. Israel's sending a lot of notices out throughout the population in, let's see if it stopped raining here, throughout the population in Gaza, that they'll be spared. For one thing, they'll be spared, and they will not be killed, supposedly. At least that's what they say. And they might, or probably will, get rewarded if they turn in to the Israelis where these meeting places are at, how they can, in other words, how they can kill a bunch of Hamas people. So give them information. And what else do we have here? Oh, Israel has even started operations against Syria. They have, instead of bombing just the airports, they bombed positions in Daraa, and they managed to kill some people. Let's see, how many is it here? They killed 8 and they injured 7. And for years, Israel has been able, as you noticed, to bomb anywhere they feel like it in Syria. So it really makes you wonder how long Syria is going to be holding out. I'll tell you what, if something really does happen here, I'll bet you Syria is going to unleash Israel. Like I said, if Hezbollah jumps in, especially if Iran jumps in, then Syria is going to jump in, because they're going to say, okay, well, we have a chance now. Syria's never really had any kind of a chance. Israel is armed to the teeth, and Syria is not. And Syria apparently doesn't even have very good air defenses. I think they have S-300. I don't think they have the S-400. There's probably been reasons why Russia has not supplied the S-400, or certainly not the S-500. I believe, who was it? Somebody was supposed to be maybe getting the S-500. But, you know, Russia can't just give that to anybody that's able to pay, because Israel will say, well, no, then we're going to give Ukraine X, and Y, and Z, and Y, and W. I don't know. It's still raining. But anyway, any of these attacks on Syria obviously are provocations. They're trying to provoke Syria into something, and especially maybe right now, which, you know, to me is actually a dumb move. But I think Israel, they want to unleash as many bombs as they possibly can. And now the United States has actually said, what was it? In Ukraine it was as long as it takes. And I think they're saying about Israel, whatever it takes. That means they're going to give them anything they want. Oh, look at this. A Mustang. See if I can show it to you. Is that showing it? I saw one yesterday too, by the way. A Ford Mustang. I think it was a black one. Gosh, all of a sudden there's a lot of cars. Fortunately, I have to duck under here again. Hope my camera's all right with that water on there. Now, something that was fascinating, as you remember, this Christian hospital that was bombed the other day. Israel swears they didn't do it. They say it was Hamas that did it. So the funny thing is, even though this isn't a funny situation at all the evidence that Israel submitted to prove that they didn't bomb this Christian hospital, all that evidence proves is that they did bomb it, which is incredible. They did bomb it, and it's proven in the evidence that they said proves that they didn't do it. Even the New York Times admits it. I mean, it's like anybody analyzing these things, it's like it proves that Israel bombed that Christian hospital. Now that's incredible. Makes you think that they'd probably delete all this stuff right now. And it says that the missile that they fired to cause that damage was from Nahal Oz. Is actually the area where that's come from, this missile. Yes. So anyway, I'll do like other people do, you know, before I even get to the end of the video, say subscribe. If you're here for the first time, just go ahead and push that button. Push the like button, push the subscribe button. Just push all the buttons. Unless you've already subscribed, don't hit the subscribe button again because then you'll unsubscribe, of course. So now, a little bit of other information I said I was going to talk about. When you see all of this stuff going on online, you know, all of this information like pro this and pro that, from when it's like pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli, you have to realize that Israel, they employ well over 1,000 people to go on the internet and either to contest, eliminate, discredit, or just destroy any negative information about Israel. They do that even in times of peace. And that's why probably in the past years you haven't heard as much as you'd normally do. You know, you don't hear that much about AIPAC, you know, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, but it's still live and active and buying politicians. I think it was an Israeli themselves that said to buy a politician, it's cheaper than buying a tank. So especially an American one. There was another thing that somebody said, I remember, they said, some reporter was asking some official from Israel, why don't you just become the 51st state of the United States? And this Israeli official said, well, you know, when you become a state, you only get 2 senators. But right now, Israel has 30 senators, U.S. senators. So why would we want to become a state and only have 2? So, okay. And another thing that, you know, it becomes obvious now. You know, I talk about these masters of the universe and who these people are. You know, there are a whole bunch of people. It's not just the United States government. It's World Economic Forum, and it's all the big boys, you know, in the West. And it's also, well, there's more to that. You can even put Israel in that too, because Israel just is part of this whole thing as well. But you see there's kind of a split going on at the moment, you know, because Soros and his Open Society, they are backing, for the most part, the Palestinian cause. And you see the other side, you know, the US government, and of course the Israeli government, and the governments in Europe, they're backing the Israeli side. So I don't know if the typical people from the World Economic Forum, if they play in neutral or not, but you know, you look at who is on Soros' side and who is therefore, you know, I don't know if you'd say Alexander Soros now, because supposedly old Gorgeous George has supposedly resigned as CEO, but I still see him out there, you know, flapping his jaws around, you know, making sure his his proteses don't fall out of his mouth. But you see who backs the Open Society Foundation and all those people, all the same things that Rockefellers and Soros backs. And it's, of course, AOC, Alexandria Cortez, or whatever her name is, from New York, the congresswoman, kind of a dim-witted one, was a waitress and brags about it, you know, rich waitress. It's kind of strange, a rich girl, why does she even need to be a waitress? I guess just because it looks good on her resume if she wants to be a congresswoman, I think. And Greta Thunberg, she's also a Soros product. And of course there's quite a few more, you know, you see a lot of these DAs and all that are in the United States. Problem? Yes, yes. Yes, Dangy. So, anyway, they back the Palestinian cause. So, and then you see some of these other ones that are not. So it's kind of a schism, like whatever you call that there. Hope my nose isn't running. Yeah. But the masters of the universe, it's a fight from within. That's pretty cool. But of course, this is just one little incident, and of course they agree on so many other things. But it's good to see that they're fighting a little bit anyway. Maybe us people that really do like truth and justice, maybe we'll get something positive coming out of this. You never know. Also, do you know the United States is already involved, very much involved in this conflict there in Israel? And I think Colonel Douglas McGregor already said that they had special forces, I think Delta Force. Luckily I didn't get into that. My eyesight is not good enough, but I was almost going into Delta. So, but anyway, I guess they were storming someplace along with the special forces from Israel, and they got slaughtered. So preparation didn't work out too much. But you know, that wasn't enough time. Normally in Delta Force you have to train, at least they told me this, you're locked up, you know, suddenly, I don't know if you don't even really get that much time, I guess, to tell your family you're going to get locked up. I don't know. And then all of a sudden you're locked up, you're on an assignment, and it's normally like maybe up to 6 months of training, you know, figuring out all sorts of different angles of this, whatever hotspot they're about to send you to. You know, but they didn't have that much time now, so obviously it didn't work out too well. Okay. And they're also involved in the planning. There is this Lieutenant General James Glynn, and they are there, and I guess reporters were even saying, they were telling reporters, and the reporters were asking us as well, how many do you have there? And I guess the U.S. refuses to say, so there's at least hundreds of U.S. personnel, officers, planners, all that involved right now in Israel anyway. Strange that they lied when it was all about Ukraine. Oh, we don't have anybody there, and of course they still had hundreds there, but a lot of them are pulled out of Ukraine now, and they're sent to Israel, which is amazing. And that's not just true with Israel. I guess I mean, the United States, of course, Israeli soldiers and other ones left too, a lot of mercenaries. So a lot of mercenaries left Ukraine now, so. So, and the head of the Israeli police said they have no tolerance for anyone who is anti-war. That includes celebrities and doctors and nurses and tourists and everybody. And anybody who is this anti-war when it comes to this situation will feel the iron fist of the Israeli police. You know what, they have the iron dome, the iron sling, the iron fist. The iron, I mean, I wish, you know, wish some of those Gazan or those West Bank men that got shot down there, wish they had the iron peepee, and they'd probably be okay. And the U.S. says the reason why they did not agree with a ceasefire that was proposed by Russia in the United Nations Security Council is because that would benefit Hamas. I don't see how that benefits Hamas any more than it benefits Israel. And in effect, you know, they still haven't made their full-scale invasion. So what is that benefiting Hamas now too? They're still bombing the place like there's no tomorrow. Makes you really wonder, why don't they just bomb the place, destroy everything, you know? They already killed thousands of people, and then just be done with it and say, okay, that's enough. Now they want to go in and they want to kill everybody. And the United States says that they have readied a plan for mass evacuation of Gaza. You know, the United States wants to do a mass evacuation of Gaza. Makes me wonder, how well did that work in Afghanistan? You know, was the U.S., did they do a good job, old Joe Biden? And those were Americans. That didn't work out too well. So I wonder how that's going to do with Gazans. And as you know, the Israelis said that all of these people from northern Gaza Strip have to migrate to southern Gaza, and it turns out they're bombing southern Gaza as well. They even have a place, let's see, what did I write? I wrote down the town now. Deir el-Balah. So they evacuated them to places like that, and then they bombed it. They've done that already twice now, told them to go this way, and then they bombed that way. Reminds me of the United States when they did that with Iraq. A lot of them were fleeing, they were going to Syria. Remember, all civilians, and the United States bombed the entire convoy for miles long and burnt and killed everybody to a crisp. They even had a name for that. I don't know, for the road of death or something like that. Yeah. And now, talking about gassing that tunnel, it's apparent that Israel is thinking about using a gas attack, and they can so that they can blame Hamas for using the gas attack. Sounds like the white helmets. You remember when the United States did that? They used the white helmets to use this like some kind of a chlorine gas or something like that, and then is when the UN inspectors were in Syria, and then they blamed it on Assad, and of course, for the most part, everybody fell for that. Yeah. Also, now they have some new numbers coming out that they said that the U.S. per capita debt, that means per person, is now, I'm probably meaning adults, I would imagine. I don't know, over some certain age. I don't know if it's for every man, woman, and child, but that debt is at $73,822 per person, and it's going up, and it's going up. Actually, you might as well just say $74,000 a person owes, if they divide up the national debt amongst everybody. And Russia's national debt is $2,350 and going down. It's declining. Isn't that something? I guess it's the lowest it's been for quite a few years now. At one time it was 2000. I can't remember what year, 2006 or something, what they said. So now it's going down again. With all the construction they're doing in the Donbass area and having this military operation going, Russia is still getting wealthier. Isn't that incredible? The US is getting poorer. Boy, what does that tell you? Talk about getting freaked out. Also, in the last 10 days, as of yesterday, Russia shot down 17 Ukrainian MiG-29 jets. Isn't that incredible? So it looks like Ukraine is still trying to mount, I guess they're just probably experimenting. It's kind of like a fishing trip. They're sending out all different kinds of ways to see how they can possibly harm Russia. So this time they were sending waves of airplanes, and they said, it's raining airplanes, it's raining MiGs. So anyway, apparently that didn't work. I thought maybe their whole air force was gone. I didn't even know they had 29 MiG jets. Probably they came from Poland and some other places as well. Just guessing, just throwing that out there. But anyway, that's about all I have to say right now. Getting kind of cold. I better start doing some of the things that I'm supposed to be doing here, and then get back, study my Russian. Yes. And like I said, well, that's about all I have to say. I guess that's something else, but I'm not going to say in that right now. But thanks for joining me. Thanks very much for joining me. And hit the subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one in a day or two. Thanks again. Bye.